We good, we good, we good. So, man, you checked out any boxing today?
No, I haven't. Nah, I haven't really done anything too much.
Well, we had put out some things the other day about some things we might talk about, but I'm gonna bring it back to the Inoue eventually. But I was wondering if you probably haven't seen any of the Bomac things and stuff like that, but with him saying size don't matter, like the size not gonna be a difference in that fight. And
Well, I actually did because you sent something to me. So I went and I listened to what he had to say about it. Yeah, so that particular episode, yes, I'm familiar with it, and I did listen to his perspective on it.
what did you gather from that?
Well, I expect him to say something like that because by his man being the smaller man, he's not going to concede and says, oh yes, size does matter, because then he would be saying something that's counterproductive to his fighter. So therefore, he's going to promote his fighter in every way, even in commentary, even if he feels that, the view that a bigger fighter has an advantage. He's not going to say that. So, I expect that of him. He's gonna promote his fighter 100%.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I had reason that I think I said in that video that only thing I could really say was that it was mental warfare, because even though I think in those conversations with Inoue and Fulton, I believe that, because with Earl and Bud, they both can punch. And in that fight with Fulton and Inoue, I think one of them is really pegged as a puncher, and one of them is more as a boxer. So I think in this situation, he's correct in the fact that Bud, being the smaller stature guy, ultimately the one that was coming up, since he dropped down, even though I don't think he really should have dropped down that far to begin with. But when he went down to 135 off the rip, I think he was fighting lower than where he should have been, almost like how Devin was. But he didn't stay. Like Shakur moved up, Bud moved up. So Shakur, they on a path of actually moving up as they gained weight or as they grew. But nevertheless, I think because he can punch, Bomac might have something to stand on. Like the size is not that much, because I also alluded to the fact that the reach and things like that is closer, because people saying that, so I understand that. I just think that in all of the talks and the dealings, even when I was looking at him going ahead of the Sean Porter fight, I never really heard anything from Bomac philosophically or anything like that. And I'm wondering how much of the athlete, because he did go on to say that athleticism and when you a gym rat and things like that, do you really believe that they're really relying on Bud to just be more athletic and catch Earl?
That's what they hoping on. They hoping on that he can command ring generalship in the fight, and that he can offset, stop, sidestep Earl, maybe catch Earl coming in. That's what they're looking at. But on the same token, Spence has good ring generalship also. He's able to walk his opponent down without getting in trouble. He has a real good jab that gives a lot of fighters trouble. So the homework is going to be there for Crawford. He's going to have to offset it. And I have said this on occasion that in order for him to fight, I think, a good competitive bout against Spence, he's going to have to fight from the orthodox position. Because from the orthodox position, it puts his jab farther away from him. okay? Because it puts both of their jabs hand on the same side if he fights in the orthodox position. And I think that's one way he can nullify, in a sense, the dominant jab that Errol Spence has. If he tries to fight him from the southpaw position, I think he will have a more difficult time. So I'm expecting Crawford to come straight out in this fight, fighting orthodox against Earl. I think that might be the key to better success for him.
Yeah, if his right hand is as good as, you know, everybody says it is, you know, I believe orthodox, because the straight right hand is the poison pill for the southpaw. So, and he can also keep traffic out there with the left, but depending on how weak that left is on defense, because I think on defense in orthodox he's a liability unless he does a lot of the things that you say as far as keeping that traffic out there, or something for Earl to maneuver, put bugs on the windshield with that jab. But even when I was looking at it, most of the time Bud used his as like a pawing jab, but that's also from the southpaw. So from the left, I would have to really analyze that. What I do know is, what I was watching some film on Bud again in the build up, and what I do know is he's a rhythm fighter. So I'm thinking they're not gonna speak to that, but Bud, he likes to, once he likes to kind of like, he likes to punch, he kind of like to he roll out a lot. You know, he roll out, he take that step back. I see a lot of Shakur in him. I see a lot of Africa. Africa been watching them guys, because I see that technique, even though Africa is an orthodox fighter as well. But if you do some of the things Africa's able to do, because I see Africa, he got to be watching and implementing in his game. But I noticed that when Bud gets cranking up on his punches, he's a rhythm guy. And I'm trying to figure out if the jab from Earl gonna break up that rhythm, because the more comfortable Bud is, the more dangerous he is. You know, and I think that, you know, Earl's he's not gonna shy away from actually telling you what he really gonna do, because he says the body is a trunk. It's a much bigger target than the head. So he always gonna chop the body, and that's what we known him for, like that body work. So I'm wondering if Earl's gonna allow him to be able to get in a rhythm, and I think a lot of that's going to have implications in the other fight we're going to talk about with Inoue and Fulton. But what you think about that?
Yes, I have to agree with you on that. But Earl is such a dominant, straightforward fighter where he constantly pressing in, okay? And at a certain point, Earl is going to force Crawford to fight. And I think that during those periods, that's when Crawford can be a little vulnerable, because I think Earl is the harder puncher. And the way Earl stalks and keep closing in, you're not gonna just get out there and just box circles around him. He's gonna force you into a firefight. And Crawford often in fights agrees to get into a firefight. So we're gonna see if in fact he's gonna be able to stand up to the constant pressure that Spencer's gonna put on him. That's gonna be the telling tale, if he's able to stop him in his tracks. Because if he can't stop Earl from pressing, Earl is going to attempt to wear him down over the rounds. And he's got to counteract that constant pressure. So he's going to have to hit Earl, stop him, actually make Earl stop coming forward, maybe back up, move, think about what he's going to do. If he's not able to do that, I think Earl will eventually wear him down the way he normally does in a fight. And I think that would be the key to his victory. On the other hand, Crawford is going to have to offset him, keep moving, get his punches in, Be careful what he do. Don't get into too many straight up exchanges. If you get into an exchange, make it quick and then get out of there. So if he tries to have a firefight with Earl, I don't think that's to his advantage.
Yeah, definitely not. And I was listening to the Brian Custer, even did a little clip for the video I'm gonna drop on Earl and Bud, where he basically says, man, it's like two pit bulls and they both got a wound, and he's like, they like two fighting pit bulls and somebody gotta die. So all implications is that Earl's stepping. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm stepping, and it's a long time coming. And I was saying that he does a good job at masking how he truly feels being Earl. But I think that a lot of the things they're saying, because it's a lot of people saying, oh man, Bud, everybody disrespecting Bud. I'm like, man, y'all are undermining, a lot of people are undermining Earl and the fact that he got 3 of them belts now. Like, this is not yesteryear. You know, this is a long time coming. It's something that he gets knocked for having, you know, been at the weight class for so long and having all the belts and all that. But it's like he went and picked up those belts off of the champions when they were champions. He took them off of bodies. And so I think that Earl's getting overlooked. But I'm gonna transition over into this Fulton and Inoue. And I was reminded, because I always keep my ear to the streets and try to see if there are any more new interviews or anything that I could bring back to the table to talk about Inoue. And I heard some things, and man, you know, when the best fight the best, we always draw these parallels between Fulton and Spence and Crawford and Inoue and that whole mixture. But I was reminded today that Fulton basically saying that he's just that much better. He's saying he's not better than me. And I was thinking, since I'm thinking about Spence, because we was on that Gamboa thing, and because Bernie was saying something about Gamboa and how he was the interim champion. He had already fought at the weight when he fought Bud, and he was giving him all that credit, but they took away from Mikey. And when I started thinking about Mikey, I was like, they give Earl no credit for how he was able to adjust with Mikey. But going into that fight, everybody was saying that Mikey was going to win. And Mikey's whole thing was that he sees something. Now, Fulton came out and said something like, if he don't fix what I see, and he said, I'm not going to divulge. He said, if he don't fix that, he said, then he got a problem. And he's just not as good as me. And he basically said he's not going over there not looking, like, basically he didn't say he looking for the knockout, but he just don't want to, he ain't just going over there just to get his hand raised. So he's saying he want to make a statement.
Well, he's supposed to feel that way. I mean, he's the current champion at that division. He's not supposed to go into the fight apprehensive. He's supposed to go in there with all the confidence in the world. And that's what he's supposed to do. Now, whether or not he can fulfill his expectations is yet to be seen. You know, he's got to fight a perfect fight, and he's got to do it for the entire 12 rounds. Because if he have any flaws with the punching power that Inoue has displayed throughout his career, he could be in trouble. If he cannot elude the power punches that Inoue throws, he's going to have to constantly be busy, moving, sticking in the exchanges, make them quick, get them in, get out of there. Don't try to have a firefight. That's not his style of fight. His knockout ratio shows that he's not the type of fighter to just get into a firefight and knock someone out. So he's going to have to be careful. He's going to have to use all of his boxing skills, and he has to make sure that he's in good enough shape that he can sustain this throughout a 12-round fight.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what he aiming for, because he also said, man, I'm not going to be there to be hit. He basically said, I'm not going to be there. So in one breath, it's like he not going over there just to get his hand raised, which is a mindset. But if I dive deeper, that means that you're going to try to stop this man. over there in his backyard, which I commend. I mean, because you got to put him in park. You got to put him on his back pockets. You got to give him something to think about. Put something on his mind. Like, you gotta make a statement, but it is a statement just going over there, taking your belts over there and taking that chance. But he said he's not going to be there. That's what he's saying. Now, to focus in on what Fulton said, though, and this is going to sound like one of them questions when you sitting down in the interrogation room, because I know you're not going to crack. But whenever I ask you about any loopholes or any windows of opportunity when it comes to Inoue, the complete boxer, puncher, what could Fulton possibly be talking about that if he don't fix? What is it anything? I'm gonna ask you again, because you say, man, I don't really see. I'm trying to look at Inoue kind of critical and say, like, what could Fulton be talking about if he don't fix? What is he saying if he don't fix what?
I have no idea. He says he's not going to expose what it is. So if he sees a weakness, then he has to get in there and exploit it. I have no idea what he's talking about. Tim Bradley has also said on occasion that he see weakness in Inoue and he's got to get better. However, he never elaborated on what he see. I don't know if that's just being biased towards Inoue, because if there's something that you see, then especially someone like Tim Bradley that's not a fighter anymore, so he don't have to expose anything that he would have to go in the ring against him and then giving him a loophole as to what his plan would be. So I haven't heard anybody really say what Inoue's weakness is. So I don't know. Is that smoke and mirrors? Is that just a confidence booster for Fulton to go in there feeling that he knows something that nobody else knows? Only time gonna tell. We're gonna have to wait and see. And if he's able to be victorious, maybe he will actually say what he used to come away with a victory. But until he can do that, I don't have to me it's just smoke and mirrors at this time.
Well, only thing I can really say is this. In a comparison, when we talking about the Spence Crawford, I hear a lot of the Bud Only fans saying that he better not drop his mouthpiece, or he better not, like an opportunity of being caught because Earl didn't have a fitted mouthpiece. So I mean, that's one, like, praying that your opponent make a mistake, or banking on your opponent making a mistake. Yeah, you gotta, you can, but when we talked about that, it's like it's easy to be able to see a mistake, but then it's kind of hard or a challenge to be able to capitalize on it. And the only thing I reason is he's probably talking about something he saw in a Donaire fight, where Inoue got caught. But I'm thinking, man, does he have the power? I mean, unless it's something you don't see, because again, he's saying he's not going to be there to be hit. So that means he's going to be on his stick and move. He's going to box. He's known as a boxer, an elite level boxer. So only thing I can really think of is he's maybe seen some things that Donaire maybe had, in the first fight, and that, he's going to capitalize on, some of those things that's on film. That's all I could really gather.
Unless he is elaborate and actually indicates what weakness it is, we have no idea what he's talking about. So at this particular point, we can only speculate as to what he's talking about. We have no idea. So we have to just wait until this fight starts, and let's see if, as the rounds go on, he can win rounds and by what method he's using to win these rounds. So, you know, when an individual don't come out and tell you what his game plan is, you really don't know what it is. His game plan could be that I'm going to survive this fight for 12 rounds and do enough to come away with the victory.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something we talk about. I mean, you got to be able to evade, but also outpoint. You know, because we think that the way that they're judging boxing now is more for the one that's forcing the action. So it's still gonna be interesting because we don't know, you know, and it is pure speculation. I was just trying to see, man, and I knew you wasn't gonna crack, but that's the only thing I could really think of, man. Maybe he seen like, okay, well, this guy has some success doing this, I'm gonna do that, you know. So that's the only thing I could really see. Even though I think him and I think Donaire fight in a different stance as well. But yeah, that's interesting, man. They're not gonna crack, man. That's you know, they keeping everything close to the vest, and you know, a lot of things with Inoue until the press conferences come and we see some of the build up, because you know they still gotta promote it, you know. So I'm guessing there's still some things to come, maybe some blood, sweat, and tears, maybe some behind the scenes type stuff, you know, because they got to start cranking up the promotion, because other than YouTube and other people talking about the fight and analyzing it, it's not much really to go by. I mean, we see Fulton pop out and they might ask him about the upcoming fight, but it's nothing really new coming out. And, you know, he's really chiming in about other boxers, like, you know, the Spence Crawford fight and things like that. So we kind of got to wait on that. But to close it out, Fulton is going over there to Japan, and Tim Tszyu has success over there in Australia. We know that Jamel, you know, he's the king right now. But a lot of people are saying, I think Tim Tszyu wants him to go over there. What do you think about Jamel going over there? Because I think they got a date, and it's supposed to be in the U.S.
Well, I really don't know. Sometimes, you know, the ego and the arrogance of a fighter will not allow them to dictate where a fight is going to be. Sometimes a champion might say, look, I'm the champion. You know, I'm the A side. You know, if there's going to be someone to pick a venue, it's going to be me. It's my belt on the line. So, you know, if you get a fighter that's willing to fight you anywhere in the world, then that fighter is very confident, and they're not ego tripping. Okay?
Right.
And another thing too, you have to look at economically, is it feasible to travel outside the country to fight? Is it going to affect the purse? I mean, are you going to get the same amount of money for fighting at home, or is fighting at home, does that guarantee you a better purse than going somewhere else? See, you have to really look at all those elements. Now, with the Fulton Inoue fight, I believe that Fulton wants to go over to Japan because he believes he can get the biggest payday that he has had so far in his career, because he is really not a household name in America. He's not a pay-per-view fighter in America. So therefore, he may be looking at, where can I get the biggest purse at? And I believe that he has decided that even though he's the champ, he's going to travel over there, because I believe economically it will be the biggest payday he has had. So therefore, the economics and the money and what it brings to the table, I think it has a lot to do when fighters make their decision where they're going to fight at.
Yeah, I'm considering that. I just don't know with the Tim Tszyu and Jermell Charlo, I don't know if it would be a bigger purse, because he do have. I mean, Kambosos had 50,000 over there, and I think Tim Tszyu was bigger than Kambosos, even though Kambosos had got undisputed. This would be for undisputed as well, so I think that change over there wouldn't be anything to shake a stick at. But you also reminded me that we still got to figure out whether or not Inoue and Fulton got a rematch. Because I'm thinking, man, it might be heavily decided on the outcome of the fight. A lot of times, if it's a blowout or somebody get knocked out, it ain't no, it's like, nah, why? Like with Rolly, when Rolly got knocked out, it was like Tank in his camp was like, why do that again? But they are entertaining, at least verbally, Isaac Cruz fight, because that fight, he didn't get the knockout, and I guess people want to see that again. But it might rely on how good of an outing or how great of a show that is when they come. But I still hadn't heard any information about that. You heard anything about that?
No, I haven't heard anything on a rematch clause. I haven't. But I'm gonna tell you, if there is a rematch clause and the first fight is an epic battle, something that fans want to see them fight again, it's a possibility he may fight in Japan again, because it's going to be the lucrative purse, because over there they love Inoue and they're going to pay the money to see their star perform. So, and Fulton has already shown he don't mind fighting over there in Japan. So he's looking for the payday too. So we got to keep things in perspective. These guys, they are professional athletes, and the payday, what they get, impacts on how they feel about certain fights and whether they will actually take fights. If the purse isn't right, then the fighter may be inclined not to take the fight. But so far, him going over to Japan to fight, everything must be an even keel, exactly what he wants, because he's doing what he wants. He made no bones about it. I'm going to Japan. We'll fight over in Japan. So I think the offer and the money must be right.
Yeah, it gotta be. I haven't heard one thing about. That's one thing I commend. Two things I commend Fulton for seeking the smoke. I want that to be loud and clear. But also, there was no problems, no issues. And shout out to one of our viewers on one of the last videos we did about Fulton Inoue. They said that this fight is going to be aired for free to about 30 to 40 million people. So this is a big fight. I was like, man, that kind of make you look at, because even though implication wise in the first welterweight undisputed in the 4-belt era and all that, like, that's just humongous with Bud and Spence and the caliber they are. But as far as viewership, I said, man, I had to give the viewer credit. I said, man, I didn't know the platform was gonna be that big, but it's gonna be a lot of eyeballs on that fight. I mean, if that many people watching, that's some energy right there. I didn't know that until they chimed in and said that. They said they showing it for free.
Yeah, that's because these guys are not really big pay-per-view fighters, So, everything is probably going to be financed by Japan, because they want this fight, and they're willing to do whatever they need to do to put their star on the stage, and hopefully he'll be the star of the show. And that's what they're hoping.
Yep. You're right. Well, I mean, it's as it gets closer, I'm still keeping my eyes and ears to the streets, trying to be the pulse of boxing. And as always, I always send information to you that I get or things that I hear. But other than YouTube, not much is coming out. But the first thing I get, I'm gonna look at it, analyze it, break it down, send it to you, and we gonna discuss it. But that's really all I have for today. I mean, it's a bunch of little scattered boxing categories, but I guess we'll save some of that for another segment. And again, If you have anything on your mind, we got to do an old school episode. Probably an aboute. I want to do one of them with you, and we'll get off into some of these other fights and some things get announced. Because more and more fights are coming out now.
Okay, that sounds good to me. I'm always eager to be a part of your podcast, and any commentary that I can make that can help, boost you up and keep you in good standing, I'm willing to do. Not a problem.
Yeah, but I feel like, man, people chime in, man. They say they love how you break it down and some of the points, and you drop jewels. You talk me down off the ledge from time to time, keep me even killed. So we a team, and we gonna keep pushing this boxing talk forward. So
well, that sounds good.
All right, well, enjoy your evening, and I'll holler at you later.
Yes, sir. You have a good evening also.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, peace. Well, that was my old head K talking that good old Inoue and Fulton boxing talk, man. Very level-headed guy, man. Loves boxing. I can't wait till we do that aboute, because the way he talk about Inoue is the way he talk about aboute. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name, but it's a story about him. He's followed that guy, and we've talked about it numerous occasions, but I never caught it on wax. But look out for that. Thanks for everybody who continue to push the boxing conversations forward as we aim to be progressive. And again, this is not opinion-based content. This is the healthy alternative. So we try to really push the conversation forward and keep everything on the up and up, because we look at boxing from within the ring first. And if the conversation takes us outside the ring, like it does sometimes, then we'll address it. But we give much respect to these boxers. They do get hit in the head for a living, and they deserve every penny that they get. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWorkBoxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.